All right, let's dive into something that's on every business owner's mind: Google Ads. It's a tool that can either launch you into the stratosphere or just feel like you're setting a pile of cash on fire. Today, we're going to break down how you can skip the budget burn and get right to that jaw-dropping growth. So, let's start with the big one, the question that really matters. Is it actually worth it for your business? I mean, you've probably asked yourself this. With all the places you could put your money, is Google Ads really the right move anymore? Well, let's look at the facts. And this first number is just huge. Google has a grip on nearly 90% of the entire search market. Think about that. When people need something, when they have a problem to solve, this is where they go. Your customers, they are on Google right now, actively looking for what you sell. And they don't just look, they actually click. Over 63% of people say they click on Google Ads. So if you've ever heard someone say, "Oh, nobody clicks on the ads," the data says something completely different. People engage with them, especially when an ad gives them a solution right when they need it most. The potential here is absolutely massive. Okay, but here's the catch. All of that power, all that incredible reach, it comes with a really big risk. The platform is insanely complex, and if you don't know exactly what you're doing, that potential can turn into a whole lot of wasted money really fast. I love this analogy from the source material. It's just perfect. Using Google Ads without expertise is exactly like being handed the keys to a Formula One car. It's an incredible machine, right? But if you don't know how to drive it, you're not going to win any races. You're far more likely to just spin out and crash on the first turn. So what happens when you put a real pro behind the wheel of that F1 car? Let's get into the proof. We're talking about the kind of results that expert management can actually unlock. Let's start with Park and Fly Sophia. They're a parking service, which is a super competitive space. They handed the keys to the experts and, well, the results were pretty explosive. For starters, they brought in over 100,000 new users. And get this, they built a real loyal customer base, with 41% of those people coming back again. But it didn't stop there. The effect just rippled outwards. Their Google Business Profile interactions, people getting directions, making calls, shot up by over 316%. It became a whole ecosystem of growth. And the final number? A mind-blowing 540% jump in their total search visibility. They went from just being in the race to leading the pack. That's what happens when a pro is driving. Now, okay, what about a totally different kind of business? Let's talk about Rosella AD. They're a cucumber producer. And when they started, they had, and I mean this literally, zero online presence, a completely blank slate. Talk about a challenge. Now check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. It's all about efficiency. To get a customer to actually do something, what we call a conversion, it costs them just 0.24 Bulgarian lev. That is 71% cheaper than the industry average. So they weren't just getting results, they were doing it for a fraction of what everyone else was paying. So what does that kind of hyper-efficiency lead to? This. An 8,880% increase in new users in just 6 months. From zero. No, that is not a typo. That's what happens when you stop treating ads like an expense and start treating them like a fine-tuned growth engine. Okay, those numbers are just staggering. But it's not some kind of black magic, right? So how in the world is it done? Let's pull back the curtain and actually break down the method that experts use to get these kinds of results. First, you just have to understand how complex this machine is. Google Ads isn't one simple thing. It's a whole dashboard of different tools. Search ads, display ads, shopping, video. Each one is powerful, but they all need a completely different strategy. And if you mess one up, it can drag all the others down with it. See, the pros don't just guess and hope for the best. They follow a very specific, time-tested process. It always starts with a super deep dive into the data. What's the competition up to? Where are the hidden little pockets of opportunity? Then they build a creative strategy to go after those winning niches, not just the big, obvious, and expensive keywords. And then comes the most important part: continuous, relentless optimization. And let's be really clear what we mean by continuous optimization. This is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. Not at all.
We're talking about active, daily, sometimes even hourly monitoring of all the performance data. It's about making tiny tweaks to everything, bids, keywords, ad copy, to make sure that every single dollar you spend is working as hard as it possibly can to bring you a return. And all of this leads to the biggest, most important shift of all. It's about changing the way you fundamentally think about the money you're putting into Google Ads.
It really comes down to two different mindsets. On one side, you've got the DIY approach. That's where you see Google Ads as just another expense on a spreadsheet, something you need to keep as low as possible. And that almost always leads to burning through your budget with very little to show for it. But on the other side, you have the strategic approach. This sees Google Ads as an investment to be maximized, a direct engine for creating real, profitable, and scalable growth for your business. And that's the bottom line. That's the core principle. Expert management isn't about chasing cheap clicks or getting tons of traffic for the sake of it. Those are just vanity metrics. It's about tuning that Formula One car to generate a measurable, powerful return on your investment. The only goal that really matters is profitable growth. Period. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Knowing that almost 90% of your potential customers are on Google, and knowing what's truly possible when you take a strategic, expert-driven approach, what untapped potential, what uncaptured demand is just sitting there waiting online for your business at this very moment?